Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the wasteful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars, this is our Star Wars.
Well, hello there. How are you today?
Hey, what have we here?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is safe to say that this episode of War of the Stars will contain about 100% more capes than our normal episode.
I actually have a cape in my closet. I'll go grab it.
Do you have it? No, your question is, do you have a cape closet?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, no one's perfect.
I do have a cloak though that my parents picked up for me like 20 years ago from Venice. It was actually one that had been handmade for Carnival.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. It's a really nice like black satin cloak and with the hood and everything, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Nice.
I don't wear it a whole lot because for obvious reasons. But
yeah. Well, if you haven't been able to get, by the way, welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast.
Yes.
If you haven't been able to guess by the sultry tones of my introduction, we are talking about the smoothest man in the galaxy, Lando Calrissian, today.
Yes, Lando Calrissian. So Mark is here. John, John, I keep wanting to call you John because John's your first name, and you go by Mark. But what I've been trying to find a great way to ask this. What do you prefer, John or Mark?
I usually go by Mark.
I'm gonna have to start doing that now.
Yeah. My family calls me John Mark. But it's literally one word. It's John Mark.
It sounds like you should be Pope or something.
Yeah, Pope John Mark the first.
Brian Karasik.
That would not be a good idea.
No, I would be the worst Pope ever. I'd start screaming at everybody. Brian Karasik is not joining us tonight because he is sick. The joys of having children. They get sick at school, they bring it home, parents get sick, and then they die. So he won't be joining us, but he will be back next week for our grab bag episode, and we'll talk more about that towards the end of this episode.
Exactly.
What are we talking about tonight?
Well, I think I just said it. We're talking Lando Calrissian.
Love for Lando.
And Lando had a lot of love.
He did, dude. That man had more love than I think the galaxy was prepared for.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So, fun fact, and I'm presenting this here, but Lando's full name is Landonus Balthazar Calrissian.
Belshazzar.
Yeah, I did not know
very
that.
Babylonian of him.
I know. I did not know that Lando was short for anything.
No, I did not.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So what was your first thought when you encountered Lando? Because I mean, our first introduction to him is in towards the last part of Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. You just get a sense of, well, I think at first, you're not sure what to make of him. I mean, I think that was kind of done on purpose of, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What's his deal? Because he very quickly, when you first meet him, you're not sure if you should trust him. And then of course, very quickly he turns him into Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, just very, very quickly. So, but even before that, I mean, just the way Han kind of talks about him, even before you meet him, I don't know. It's like the last time, so There's definitely a lot of
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ambiguity with him. Like,
yeah.
I mean, my first thought when I saw him was like, oh, that's cool. It's a dude wearing a cape that isn't Vader.
Yeah.
Because, everyone else has a cape. Well, with the exception of Boba Fett, who's got a very small cape. For the most part, nobody else wears a cape except for Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah.
My introduction to him in Empire Strikes Back, I thought he was a really cool character. Like, he seemed to be really charismatic. He was very cool. Definitely had that smoothness to him. But you could tell, like, the way that Han operated around him, that you weren't really sure what you were going to get out of him. Like, when he first walks up and he's given Han grief about showing up at Cloud City, and then he just turns it into a hug.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what happened? Like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, but you get a few clues, like
his questions about the Falcon being his ship.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, he used to own the Falcon. So there's a little bit of definitely some world building there where you find out, okay, Han won the ship in some sort of a game. Later on, you find out it was a game of Sabacc,
in which they both were cheating each other.
Oh yeah, yeah. But you also get, I think, even with the betrayal, you get the idea of Lando that it wasn't something that he was this huge Imperial fan, but he was the type of person that would do anything to protect his people. Like, he was in charge of Cloud City, and even if it meant betraying friends or something like that, if he thought his people were in danger, that came beyond anything, even friendship. Like, he was willing to go to any length to potentially, which, I mean, in a lot of ways, it could be, I don't know if you see that a good sign of him, but it was something that can be somewhat looked at admirably. Like, he's willing to do what he needs to do to protect his people and keep them safe and prosperous and away from Imperial eyes as much as possible.
I think you're spot on with that, Mark, because, like, as soon as he has the opportunity to get his guards involved with detaining the stormtroopers and any other Imperials that were around him, like, once Vader left Cloud City, he went right back to making sure that his people were protected.
Yeah.
And even to an extent, like, you could see, like, there was remorse and reluctance on his face when he handed over Han and Leia and Chewie to the Empire. And I think that's really kind of that says a lot about him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's really interesting is that it goes back to this quote that's at the top of the article about him on Wikipedia, where he says, "I'm not interested in throwing my life away for nothing. I don't get into fights I know I can't win. But when it comes to something I care about or someone I care about, I'm as brave as they come. When it's like that, I don't care about the odds. Bet on it." And it's interesting. We're talking, like, this is a gambler who likes to fix the game to make sure he wins and comes out on top. But when he is hard pressed and it's something that is important to him, he will fight for it.
Yeah.
And we see that at the end of Empire Strikes Back and in his commitment to the rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Did you know he had a daughter?
I think I heard that. Is that canon? Is that canon, or is that
based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like it's part of the canon, because like her name is Lando Calrissian. I'm clicking on her to see what she's all about. And we're probably not going to get any images of her, as far as I'm aware. But it says that we don't know who her mother is.
Oh,
but she was born 13 years after the Battle of Yavin, so after the fall of the Empire.
But there's no picture of her. Do you see?
I'm not seeing one. She has had appearances in Shadow of the Sith, which is an audiobook. Apparently, she appears as an indirect mention in episode 9, which we get that.
Yeah.
She's mentioned only in The Rise of Skywalker, the junior novel, and expanded edition audiobooks. Other than that, yeah, there's not much to go off of with her other than those brief appearances.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that we know of. I mean, considering Lando could have reputation, he could have populated a small star system.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair though, I mean, she's the only known daughter that he's got.
Yes, only known.
But I think it's interesting that, like, because I'm looking here at this article and it says after the tragedy of hold on, let me back up. Calrissian attempted to start a family and his daughter was born. In the time they were together, he was a loving father. However, in 15 ABY, so 2 years after she was born, she was kidnapped by the First Order, along with other children of former rebel leaders. And after the tragedy of losing his daughter and his failure in a quest with Luke Skywalker to find answers about the growing darkness in the forest, Calrissian settled on the desert planet of Pisana, which we saw in Rise of Skywalker, to lead the life of a hermit. Interesting. Interesting. So it makes me wonder whatever happened to her. That would be like a nice side story to see happen.
That would be, yeah.
Like if they were to renew the Lando series with Donald Glover reprising the role, like I liked him. He was probably one of my favorite parts of Solo.
Yes, I mean I could honestly see that character, eventually turning into what we see with Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he was pretty close to it as well.
Yeah. I did really like that. I'm not sure how I feel about him getting in the relationship with a droid.
Yeah, that was weird.
But at the same token, I mean, I know a lot of people, were kind of like when they said, that Lando is Pan, that but at the same time, if you kind of look at the way Lando is, I don't think Lando would turn down anyone or anything if given the I think he just comes off as that type of he does, it's just whatever.
Yeah, he's kind of whatever. He's very
open.
Very open. But at the same time, I mean, especially as he got older, like you could see that there's more of a reserved side to him as well.
Yeah. I've said this before. If they're ever, like you said, if they're ever to redo or relaunch the Lando series and decide to bring it, make it, that I think the best way to do it would be to have both Billy D. Williams and
Donald
Glover, and have it be where it's Billy D. Williams in a cantina somewhere holding court, telling stories, and then each episode is like him telling like a story about something that happened, and then it goes to almost young Indiana Jones style.
And we mentioned that I think when we were talking about Han Solo and how Solo should have been something like that.
Yeah, Solo should have been a series.
You could build off of. You could do a couple of seasons where it builds up the character from nothing, and then having like one of those seasons culminate with the Kessel Run.
Yeah.
You could have a lot more character development and stuff like that. But we got what we got. And again, Donald Glover was probably one of the highlights of the film because he is just so good. Like, I mean, he is one of my favorite characters in the show Community.
Yes.
He brings some gravitas to what he's doing. He's really good at playing goofy, but at the same time, like there's yeah, there's a sense of seriousness to it,
Yeah.
and he's kind of the heart of the group.
I'm this is switching crossing streams so to speak, but I'm really disappointed that we didn't get him as Prowler in a Miles Morales Spider-Man movie.
Well, we got the
we kind of did in the Andrew Garfield one.
No, it wasn't Andrew Garfield. It was Tom Holland.
No, he was in the Andrew Garfield one.
Do we need to make a bet on this one?
I'm pretty sure he was in the Andrew Garfield one.
He was in the Tom Holland one it was Spider-Man Homecoming because he was the arms dealer.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. I don't remember. I thought it was the Andrew Garfield one because I thought he was in the parking lot scene.
Yeah, it was a parking lot scene, but
okay,
it wasn't Andrew Garfield.
Okay, all right. I stand corrected.
Don't make me go Abed Nadir on you, man. I'll go full Abed. I've got the looks of Chevy Chase, the mind of Abed, and the sarcasm of Jeff Winger. That's not a good combination.
No.
So, yeah, like Lando's got some interesting appearances because, like, he shows up in some of the books that were published after Return of the Jedi came out, and his. Like, I'm looking at there's a lot of content about him in this article, and a lot of it's drawn from those books, but what's considered canon now is hard to say. But one of the things I really, really appreciated about the way the character has been presented is that he's not just like a one and done character.
No,
there was a point and purpose to his existence within the story, and especially for Empire Strikes Back, and then there's a purpose for him again in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, you almost get the idea that it goes from like you always have the so-called Trinity, the Star Wars Trinity of Luke, Han, and Leia, and then Chewie. And it's almost like when Lando joins, you add another one to that group. So it's Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, and now Lando. Like, he's part of that inner circle.
Yeah,
and he get pretty quickly in kind of gets in that position. And I honestly like seeing him in the Falcon.
I did too. It was good to see him piloting the ship that he originally owned.
Yeah, and that's what was. I mean, even in Rise of Skywalker, it was cool to see him back in the pilot's seat at the end of the movie to see see Billy D back in the pilot's seat.
What I like, how did you feel about him showing up in Star Wars Rebels?
I mean, at that point, everybody else had already showed up, so I wasn't surprised because I think by that point, Leia had showed up. A few other not main continuity, but original series or original movie trilogy characters that showed up. So I wasn't surprised that I'm surprised they didn't try to bring Han in at some point. Like,
kind of glad they didn't.
They brought everybody else in. They already brought Luke had a cameo at one point. Leia had a cameo. Lando had a cameo. So, but the fact that they even leave him at that point being a very ambiguous character as far as, is he a good guy? Is he he's very, at that point, a very morally gray character.
And the thing, I don't know, like, I think I think one of the things that I liked about having him in Rebels was the fact that you get to see like a different side. Because like I'm trying to remember if Lando and Hondo connect in Star Wars Rebels.
I think they did. Yes, I think
Yes.
it was.
They did meet in Star Wars Rebels in the episode Brothers of the Broken Horn. And I like this because you get to see two guys who are smugglers, who are, you know, one's more of a pirate, the other one's more of a gambler. And you get to see different sides of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Different sides of different sides of the same coin, because they're
yeah.
both smugglers, they're both criminals in their own way, but at the same time, they're both very charismatic.
Yes.
The only difference is that Lando has a soft spot for helping people out. Hondo will only do it if it benefits him.
Yes. Yeah.
And he'll turn around and try to stab you in the back anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Hondo.
Yeah, Hondo's good. Hondo's good. We're gonna have to have him on as a character episode.
We are definitely. I think it's a remiss. We've kind of hinted on a little bit to his role in the Battle of Endor.
Mm-hmm.
Of, you know, like I said, flying the Falcon, and you get a little bit more of that friendship between Lando and Han. Explored a little bit more that Lando was, one of the ones, was willing to go and, help rescue rescue Han from Jabba's palace.
But there's a little bit of, he was willing to rescue Luke from Cloud City.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he almost got himself, beaten down twice by Chewbacca, and nobody wants to ever experience the wrath of a Wookiee.
No.
But one of the things I really like about the character, and this is what Billy D. Williams said, commenting on his work as the character. He says the audience was so enamored with Lando, they could forgive Lando for anything. If you're able to play a character that can be a sort of bad guy, but has redeeming qualities, those are the best characters to play.
Yeah.
That was a great challenge for me to make him palatable, and it worked.
Yeah. He's a very human character.
Very, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, he has flaws. I think you take a character like Luke, and Luke can come off almost being too perfect. Like, I think he does have flaws, but you can tell right away, this is the guy that's supposed to be the hero that we're supposed to be following. But I think Lando is very, very human, and he does things that, like I said earlier, is he thinks are the right decisions at the time. Like turning Han over, he's like, this is, it's not what I want to do, but considering the circumstances, this is the best decision for my people. It turns out maybe not to quite be that to be the case, but it's a very human decision, a very human thing to do.
Yeah,
for someone in that position that he was in.
I think you're right. I think it's, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what could be done with the character. Because like, I still think that, like, I'm kind of along the lines of thinking, like, I would be really glad to see anybody else but Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Star Wars, but I would love to see what could have happened if they actually had a competent showrunner, a competent writer, and they brought Donald Glover back in to play the character for a series. I think even if it was a short run series, like a mini series type of thing, I still think it would be really, really fun, because
I do too. Because there's so there's so much we have. Like, how did he get Cloud City? How did he become the the governor of Cloud City. Yeah, how did that work?
He wasn't governor; he was Baron Administrator.
Baron Administrator, yes, yeah, because it was a mining facility, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and it was outside of the mining guild, I think, or part of the mining guild. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Remember?
Let me find out. Was Bespin Cloud City part of the mining guild? No, it was not part of the mining guild in Star Wars. Cloud City was a mining operation on the gas giant Bespin that operated independently of the mining guild. That's right. I remember him saying that now.
Yeah.
That is so cool. What's interesting though is the Cloud City was it was kind of a unique structure, because I mean, you look at some of the comics and some of the books, they talk about skyhooks and these like floating, orbital apartments or condominiums in orbit around large planets like Coruscant and stuff like that. Cloud City took that to the next level and had an entire population of people living on board.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of really cool, because it's a different environment altogether. It's not exactly on the land, but it's also not exactly in space. It's kind of this in between location between heaven and hell.
Yeah. Very, very. Well, what else will we talk about?
I don't know. Well, it says here that I'm looking at the article, and it says here that he was part of Operation Cinder, or he helped stop it. So, like it says, though they had won the Battle of Endor, the rebels would still face many challenges as they sought to restore the Galactic Republic. Shortly after Inferno Squad's surrender, Calrissian discussed matters with the squad leader, Iden Versio. He offered to let them leave free on 2 X-Wing fighters, as well as providing them the option of helping stop the Empire from implementing Operation Cinder. Iden and Del Meeko took the second option, leading Lando to assign them to his friend Shriv Sergev in Danger Squadron. Calrissian commanded an Alliance fleet, including the cruiser Restoration, the Melcrawler 2, and a small fleet of starfighters, including Danger Squadron and defected members of Inferno Squad during the Battle of Theed, back on Naboo. Aiding Queen Sosha Saruna, Organa, and Lieutenant Shara Bey as they disrupted the Imperial operation to render Naboo inhospitable. The rebels then re-engaged the Imperial forces and destroyed the last satellite, engaged the Torment. However, before going down, the ship deployed its ground invasion force in an attempt to capture Theed and salvage the battle. After the ground battle ended, the New Republic began to form. Calrissian later joined Sergav, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it, on a mission to Solus. So, yeah.
Nice.
Very, very cool.
Very cool.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, this is Lando's a character that like I don't know why he would have cared about what happened with Operation Cinder. Like, I mean, obviously to stop the Empire from destroying anything else, but like he had no ties back to Naboo.
Naboo, no.
And it makes me, I kind of want to read more about that story, but it looks like it happens in a cutscene in a video game.
Operation Cinder was in, what?
Battlefront 2?
Battlefront 2, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played that game.
I haven't.
Mainly because...
Well, I haven't played the new version. I played the original.
Yeah, the new version, like the first game that came out in 2015, it was all online gameplay. There was no actual campaign.
Yeah.
So there's no story.
Yeah.
I think they learned from that and they added a story, but I just haven't been interested in playing the game because the first one wasn't all that great.
Yeah, I will say this: the original Battlefront 2 from 2005 on the PlayStation 2
Mm-hmm.
is still one of the best first-person Star Wars shooters I've ever played. Like, it is really, really good. It's a really, really fun game. And the story is it's a simple story, but you play as through from the Clone Wars all the way through to the Battle of Yavin as the 501st.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, do we have anything else we can add to about Lando, or?
I can't think of anything else. I mean, we've pretty much covered a lot of what he was involved with throughout the canon, and I mean, unless we've got people in the comments who who have some additional questions that we can piggyback on for next week, but like this is one of those topics where like he's a character that doesn't have. I mean, like he's got a ton of lore behind him, but most of what people know of Lando is from the movies.
Yes.
Your general audience is only going to know him from Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and if they saw it, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. And Solo for Donald Glover.
Yes, if they saw Solo, but then they're going to be really confused why Billy D. Williams isn't playing Lando in that version. And it's like, well, yeah, because he's a younger version.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I think
All
that
right.
just about does it for us.
Yes. So we are going to be talking a little bit about what's going to be going on next week. It is, as right there, biggest unanswered questions in Star Wars.
Yes. And so we want to hear from you guys. What are some of the biggest unanswered questions that you have? We will Google search some of that as well. But
and come up with some of our own.
Yeah, we will come up with some of our own. But we want to hear from you, from the fans, from the listeners, the watchers, the viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves.
We want to hear from the watcher?
I don't think he gets involved.
This is Jeff. I understand that reference.
Yes. So we want to hear your questions, and we will answer them to the best of our ability. We will research, we will study, we will stay up slightly past sundown to get the information for you because we're both parents and we have to do stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to function when you're running on zero sleep and not a whole lot of coffee.
Sleep? What is this word you speak of? Yeah.
Well, I only have my kid like 50% of the time, so yeah, I get a little bit of sleep.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. So for those of you who are missing Brian tonight, if you want to get in contact with him, you guys can find him over on facebook.com/the.sith.library, where they post a bunch of stuff about the Sith culture and their history. And they have a carefully cultivated library of all sorts of fun information. You can also connect with him on Instagram at Corrosis. Although he doesn't really respond on Instagram a whole lot. You'll probably have better luck with Facebook. As for me, you guys can find me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of Async Ran. I actually have a new book coming out just this next Monday. It is an anthology of short stories called Midnight Playground, variety of different genres of short stories. You can also find me on YouTube at The Right Way. Just look for GKJ Publishing. I talk about book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. And then since this is airing on Wednesday, I'm just going to talk as if tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow is my birthday. I become a prime number again. I'll let you guys figure out which prime number, but it's below 50. And then on Friday, Valentine's Day, there's a new episode of Snackame, co-hosted by myself and my good friend Janae, and we are talking about the second season of The Legend of Vox Machina while we have something mochi flavored. I'm sorry, not mochi flavored, matcha flavored. We did mochi the last time we talked about that show.
All right. As for us right here, you can get a hold of us through our email, warthestars1@gmail.com. Our Instagram handle is at war_of_the_stars1. We are on X at warthestars1 and on YouTube at WOTS77. As he mentioned, we are a proud member of the Feast of Fandoms Facebook or Feast of Fandoms YouTube channel. Check out all the Feast of Fandom shows that they have there, including Snackame, as Garrett already mentioned, the other show he is on. As for me, you can, if you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com/War of the Stars, or you can check out our merch store at spreadshirt.com/shop/war-of-the-stars. You can catch me and my friend Keith on my other podcast, the Mark and Keith podcast, where me and my good friend Keith talk about growing up in the late 80s and early 90s and some of our adventures. Also, coming back, I know most of you know that for a while I had a show with my daughter called Star Wars Through the Eyes of a Child. That is transitioning into a new channel. We're going to be doing a reactions. It is called Generation Reaction. Just search Generation Reaction. You will find us there. We don't have any videos up yet, but we are going to be doing movie trailer reactions from different cartoons, Star Wars and other related things, maybe music, and just see what else happens there. So check it out. If you guys have any ideas for what you think we should react to, just leave it in the comments. Just remember, it is a 10-year-old girl, so make it appropriate to that age group for what you think we think she should react to. So that will about do it for this week. Remember, next week we are finding fiction. Oh, thanks for yes. Yes, until next week, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.